Welcome to this week's Behind the Wheel Show, featuring Gene Capo of Victory Honda of Sandusky. And now, here's Gino.
Hi folks, Gene Capo here, BehindTheWheelRadio.com. We're back again this week, living large and loving life here. We're at Channel 20 Buckeye Cable. 7 nights a week, you guys, 8 o'clock p.m. every night. We're here with a new show. Absolutely living large and loving life. 419-975-9205. You guys call in your questions, because if we read them on the air, then you go in the drawing for the $100 gas card, and who wouldn't want that? I'm telling you, if you're just tuning in, I'm Gene Capo. I own and operate Victory Honda of Sandusky, Ohio, 2301 Hayes Avenue, right at the corner of Hayes and Perkins Avenue. Also, Victory Pre-Owned Cars. We're over between Red Lobster and Pizza Hut, right in front of the mall, 4104 Milan Road. Come check us out there, because we're rocking it out there. And then, of course, we have a dandy website, you guys, victorysandusky.com. It's a great place to start your shopping experience. Don't hesitate to go there, because when you do, you're going to see 31 excellent photos of each car. No stock photos, just actual photos of each vehicle. Next to it, you'll see a Carfax icon if it's a pre-owned vehicle, and you'll get to see the complete vehicle history report on that car, and then any other that we have on display. And then the Black Book icon. That's where you can value the car you're trading in, or potentially, or value the car you're looking at and make sure it's a good price. It's a great way to start your shopping experience. And then, of course, we've got 15 really knowledgeable people just waiting here to work with you. They know the cars, they know how to show them to you, they really know how to treat you with respect. So when you come in here, you can feel comfortable and pick out a car that's going to be good for you, not just good for the dealership. So we invite you to come out anytime. We're open 6 days a week, you guys, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. every single day. So come out whenever you want to. We've got extended service hours. We're very, very easy to do business with. We've got a ton of questions this week, you guys. Wait till you hear. We've got a guest coming on later. One of the salespeople from the dealership is going to come visit, so we'll get to see her too. We've got Ron from Marbleheads checking in. Who else? We got some doozies today. Let's see. Jenny from Sandusky. She wants to know about how to buy a car. She's a first-time buyer. We've got Tom from Huron. He wants to know about rental cars. We got Bert from Castalia. He wants to know about a hybrid car versus a regular gas car and the comparison between the two. So we'll talk about that too. And then Vicky from Marblehead, she wants some heated seats. I would too after this last winter, Vicky. We'll talk about how you can get those too. Let's get right to it, should we? Let's just get right to the questions. First one from Marblehead. Hey, Gene, great show. I bought a new car. I drove it for 3 days and I hate it. Oh, nothing worse than that. It's too small. I can't even fit my golf clubs in the trunk without putting a seat down. What do I do? I know I messed up, but am I stuck with this tiny vehicle? Ron from Marblehead. Well, that's a great question, Ron, and hopefully, guys and gals, you've never been in this situation, because when you buy a car and it sounds like you hate it like Ron does, there's nothing worse in the whole world. You just spent all that money, you really love your vehicle, or you're supposed to, and then it turns out you don't like it at all and it's not working for you like Ron. So I don't know, you've driven it for 3 days, Ron. It's really going to depend on the policy of the dealership. Is the deal, number one, complete? Do you have any rights in bringing it back? And does the dealership have a return policy? Some do, some don't. It's really up to them. Without knowing the specifics, Ron, it's hard to know if you're stuck with a vehicle or not. But what I would do is take it back to where you bought it and tell them what you just told us. Tell them, hey, this car's too small. Is there a way I can exchange it for something bigger that's going to fit my needs better? And oftentimes a dealership might not take a car back once it's sold, but they are more apt to do an exchange with you sometimes. So what I would do before I decided anything is check with the place that I bought it from, Ron, and go back there and tell them, hey, look, together we worked on this, but I bought the wrong car. Or if you want to, bring it over here to the all-new Victory Honda. Give me a call at the office if you want to, 419-626-1061. We'll try our best to help you get in the right vehicle this time, Ron, because I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than spending your hard-earned bucks on the wrong car. And we've all bought wrong stuff before, and it's frustrating. But you can imagine, if you buy something that's wrong at the mall, you can take it back to the mall and get your money back or exchange it for something different. It's kind of an inconvenience, but it's not the end of the world. When you buy an automobile for $25,000 and can't take it back ever, now that's an inconvenience. Lord have mercy. I'll tell you, I see where you're coming from, Ron, and it's a great question, because I'll tell you, it shows how important it is to do business with the right folks, because if the salespeople aren't there trying to show you the right car and doing their best to find out what your needs are, you can very easily make a mistake buying the wrong car for the wrong reasons. And I'll tell you, the way to make a mistake is buying the car for a reason like 0% or a discount or something like that. Don't buy cars for that reason. If you can, buy them because they fit your lifestyle and they're exactly what you need, if you possibly can. But great question, Ron. We've got some more great ones. Let's get one more in. Bert from Castalia writes, how many miles do I have to drive to make a hybrid car pay off? Now, for those of you who don't know what hybrid cars are, they're cars that run on a combination of gasoline and electricity. Typically, the gasoline powers the car, and the electric motor will give it boost when you're accelerating. And some of them, including the new Honda Accord, will store up power, and when they can, and they've stored up enough power in their batteries, they'll run on complete electricity for as long as they can, then switching back to gasoline when they need to. So how long does it take to make a hybrid pay off? Well, Bert, I'll tell you, it's a great question, because we all look at that every day. We look at, okay, we've got hybrid technology here, and we got a car that has regular technology. So how long would it take you to pay it off, Bert? Well, you got to ask yourself a couple questions. One is, how much driving am I doing? How many miles per year? And more importantly, Bert, what kind of driving is it? Because hybrid technology typically shines the brightest in the city driving applications, okay? So if you're driving in New York City, if you're driving a delivery route, if you're cruising up and down the neighborhoods delivering newspapers, those types of applications where there's a lot of accelerating and stopping and starting, hybrids are amazing. I mean, if you put them in the mail system trucks in this country, they would save enough fuel to probably pay for the entire mail system. I mean, that's how efficient they are compared to vehicles without hybrid technology in the city when you're stopping and starting all the time. However, if you're like many people in Ohio, Bert, you're doing a lot of cruising because it's a lot of highway driving around here. So if that's the case, the hybrids don't get that much better fuel economy on the highway than the regular cars do. For instance, the hybrid Accord gets about 40 on the highway. The regular gas Accord I've seen get as high as 37, 36. So now you're within 4 or 5 miles per gallon. That's still more for the hybrid. However, there's probably a $3,500 or $4,000 increase in the price of the car when you buy a hybrid. So that's a lot of fuel. So if you decide, hey, I'm doing a lot of rural driving where I'm out in the country cruising at 60 all the time, the normal gas car does almost as well for way less money. So you got to do that math in your head, Bert. You got to ask yourself what kind of driving you're doing. You know what you could do? Give me a call at the office, 419-626-1061, and we can talk about your situation personally. We got to go to commercial, you guys, but when we get back, tons of great questions. Don't touch that dial. Don't do anything. We'll be right back.
SanduskyCredit.com.
Bad credit shouldn't stop you from getting a new car. Visit SanduskyCredit.com, and a 450 credit score plus $450 a week in income equals a brand new car with interest rates as low as 8.99%. Stop the buy here, pay here cycle. Let us help you build your credit. The pros at SanduskyCredit.com are credit experts. So fill out a credit app today at
SanduskyCredit.com.
Hi folks, Gene Capo here, BehindTheWheelRadio.com. We're back from commercial, living large and loving life here at Channel 20, Buckeye Cable. It's the guide channel. It's where you figure out what's on TV. Well, I'll tell you what's on. BehindTheWheelRadio.com is on. We're on 7 days a week, you guys, 8 o'clock p.m., 419-975-9205. Call in a question, you guys, because if you do, I'll read it on the air. And then, of course, you go in the drawing for the $100 gas card, and who would want one of those? We've had some great questions so far. Ron from Marblehead checked in. He bought a car. He's had it 3 days. Ooh, he doesn't like it. Not at all. Doesn't have room for his clubs. It's too small. Got to put the seats down to get his golf. I mean, he just doesn't like it. He messed up. We're hoping that the dealership that he got it from will let him take it back. We'll see, I guess. He says it's had it a few days, so I don't really know what's going to happen there. But if you can, Ron, give us a call, 419-975-9205. Call us at the show and let us know what happened, because we're all dying to know. We're on the edges of our seats, seeing if Ron can take his car back. Bert from Castalia, he wanted to know, how much driving do you have to do to make a hybrid pay off? Well, we covered it. I'm not sure, Bert, it's so much how much driving you have to do. but the type of driving you like to do with a hybrid is mostly city. It works good on the highway, but if you're really looking to pay one off fast, drive it more in the city if that's what you're doing. If you're not, you may consider a normal car conventionally aspirated, or in other words, non-hybrid, because they are far less expensive and get almost as good a fuel economy as the others. We got some great ones I got to get to. Here's a really good one. I like this one. I am a first-time car buyer, Gene. Got any insider tips? Jenny from Sandusky. Well, I do, Jenny. That's a great question, because you know what? First-time buyer, second-time buyer, doesn't matter how many cars you've purchased. There's always some good stuff that you can do to prepare, because they say it's the second biggest purchase you ever make in your whole life, and I'm sure that's true. But I think it's even the biggest purchase because you make them more often. I mean, I haven't bought too many houses in my life, but cars you seem to buy quite a bit more often. But one of the tips, I think, establish a realistic budget. That's probably the most important thing. Nobody likes to buy anything that's too expensive, because in the end, the heat's on you to pay for it. And if you spent too much on your car, or worse than that, you can't pay for it, nothing much worse than that. So establish a really good budget and know what you can spend monthly. If you're going to finance your car, you're going to lease your car, get an idea what your monthly limits are. That way, if you see a car and it's a good deal, you'll know it's a good deal for you. If you see a car and you really, really like it, but it's a little bit over what the other cars are, you'll know if you can afford it before you won't have to think about it. You'll know. So establish that monthly budget's important. Establish some transportation needs. And when I say transportation needs, what I really mean is, know what you're looking for. How many doors do I need? Okay, that's an easy one. Start with that, 2-door, 4-door. Do I need, a lot of space? Do I need 4-wheel drive? Do I need a lot of power? Do I need a lot of good gas mileage? Am I driving a ton? Am I driving a little? Do I not need all that space that I've been dragging around? Do I need something smaller? What am I more comfortable in? What am I going to like driving? That's real important. Not just the utilitarian stuff, like how much space does it have, but do I like driving it? There's a lot of people driving small SUVs these days, and it's not because they carry so much stuff in the back. It's because they sit up high, they have good visibility, and the people like driving them. They're great in the snow, like the CRV, for instance. It's over there. It gets over 30 miles per gallon on a trip. So it's 4-wheel drive. It's great in the snow. It sits up high so you can see. A lot of people like that. Doesn't matter if you're a man, woman, or child. Everybody likes to see when they're in traffic. So when you think about your transportation needs, think about those things. What's going to make me happy? Really prioritize your wants too. Of the top 5, say, I want to have this in my car. I got to have navigation, or I got to have this or that or the other thing. Heated seats, leather. But make sure it's a priority. So if you get to a point where you say, you know what, I'm going to get about 85% of the car that I built online, and I got to omit a few things, you'll know what those things are. So if you find a car, let's say you find a car you really like the color of, but it's missing a couple things that were on your list of stuff that you wanted, well, if it's stuff that's low priority that's down at the bottom of the list, then you can turn around and say, hey, I can go forego these things. They're not really big time on my list, so you can help make those decisions. Do your research, you guys. That's real important. Get online and research, that car and reviews. Do it under Google. It's very simple. And it'll call up reviews from all over the place on that car. Now, you got to take them with a grain of salt, but it'll give you the flavor of what a car's all about. If it's got a ton of good ones and just a few bad ones, read some of the ones and, you make the call. I don't put $1 million worth of stock in reviews, but it gives you some idea if they're all bad and why. That's the biggest things. Locate a convenient dealership's a great idea too. Find somebody who's close to you. If it's the all-new Victory Honda, great. And review that dealership. Make sure that hey, I've been into the dealership, I've talked to the folks there, I've met the people that run it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Ask to meet the manager. Say, hey, you know what, I want to meet the person that runs this place. And it gives you a good idea of the flavor of how the dealership is run and how you might be treated when you're there. Remember, when you buy a car from a car dealership, you bought a car from them, so you're kind of married to them as well. And even though you can take it other places, it's always better if you take it back to where you bought it in the end. Take a nice test drive. That's really important. And make sure that it's not just 10 minutes long. A lot of people take a 10 minutes test drive and they say, geez, I can't decide on this car. Well, it's no wonder. I couldn't decide after a 10-minute test drive. I've been doing this for my whole life, So take it for a couple hours, take it for the afternoon, take it overnight, take it home. Look at it in your driveway if possible. Look at it in your garage. Go inside, eat dinner, help the kids get their homework done, come back out and look at it again. You'll notice different things every time you look at the car. So if the dealership will let you, I encourage you to take it home and spend a little time with it before you decide to buy it. You don't have to be obligated to buy that car. It's not out of the ordinary to ask to do that these days. So I would encourage that a lot because, again, every time you look at the car, every time you drive the car, you notice something new. And it may or may not be something that you like. So spend a little time, take a long test drive, negotiate and secure the deal, I guess, is probably the end game. I mean, when you're negotiating a deal with a car dealership, make sure that you've done some homework in advance is probably the best thing. So you kind of know what a reasonable price is, you know what the MSRP is, and you know if the dealership's being reasonable. Those are probably the best things I can think of, Jenny. You know, concentrate on your budget and what do I want in a car, so I can make sure that, you know what, I got all those things hit. I got this one, this one, this one, that one, that one, and that one in priority, and I made my budget and I fit within it. So that's probably the most important stuff, Jenny, because you don't want to end up like Ron earlier where you bought a car that you really didn't like and your clubs don't fit in it and you know the game and nobody's happy then. So we're going to go to commercial, but when we come back, you guys, more questions, more people checking in from who knows where. 419-975-9205 with your questions. Give us a call with one, guys. You won't be sorry you did. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
SanduskyCredit.com.
Bad credit shouldn't stop you from getting a new car. Visit SanduskyCredit.com. And a 450 credit score plus $450 a week in income equals a brand new car with interest rates as low as 8.99%. Stop the buy here, pay here cycle. Let us help you build your credit. The pros at SanduskyCredit.com are credit experts. So fill out a credit app today at
SanduskyCredit.com.
Hi, folks. Gene Capo here, BehindTheWheelRadio.com. We're back from commercial. Living large and loving life here. Channel 20, Buckeye Cable. Rocking it out, you guys, 7 days a week, 8 o'clock p.m. right here on Channel 20. 419-975-9205 with your questions, you guys. Call one in, because if you do, of course, you go in the drawing for the $100 gas card. And who wouldn't want to do that? It's great stuff. It's worth $100. I'm telling you, we've had some great questions already, you guys. Jenny from Sandusky checked in. She's a first-time buyer. She wanted some advice on buying a first car. Turns out this stuff's great for anybody buying any number of cars because they want us to, establish a realistic budget, how much you want to spend monthly, what are your real transportation needs, what kind of car do you really need, prioritize your wants, all the laundry list of stuff that you want on your car, make sure you prioritize them so if you have to give stuff up, you know which stuff to do first. Great questions. Ron from Marblehead. That poor guy's had his car 3 days now, and he can't stand it. It's too small. He can't fit his clubs in the back. He doesn't know if he's stuck with it or whether the dealership will return it. We said it earlier, Ron, call the show and let us know. Go back to the dealership ASAP and tell them what happened. See if they'll either give you your money back or if they'll let you exchange the car for something that better fits your needs, because there's nothing worse than buying a wrong car. And don't wait. I'd go back right now as soon as you possibly can. Here's another great one from Gerald in Sandusky. Gerald writes, Gene, car technology seems to be all the rage now, and it is. Frankly, it confuses the bananas out of me. What do I need to do? What do I need and what is a waste of time and money? Gerald from Sandusky. That's a great question, Gerald, because you're right. Car technology is all the rage, and it's all kinds of stuff. It can be very confusing, so the fact that it confuses the bananas out of you doesn't surprise me. I'm the owner of the dealership, and I get confused at times. What do you need and what is a waste of time and money? Well, that's a great question because it's one that we've really got to ask ourselves. What do we need? I can tell you this. The latest and greatest list of stuff is this. Backup cameras now are all the craze. They're on all the cars. Do you need one? Yeah, I'd say you probably do. That's a safety item. And I'll tell you, it's kind of like asking somebody, hey, do you need to turn around and look out your back window before you back up? If that answer is yes, and of course it is, backup cameras are wonderful. And in 2017, they're going to be mandatory where they're going to have to be standard on all cars, new cars coming off the assembly line. So, but it's great stuff. I got used to mine really fast, and you will too. Blind spot monitors, lane departure warning systems. A lot of that stuff is great because it's all safety. I mean, again, the best way to be safe in a car is to avoid a crash altogether. And what blind spot monitors do is they're actually cameras that monitor your blind spot. They do exactly that. Like Honda's got one on the passenger mirror of the car that points down the passenger side of the car in a rearward direction. So you can see vehicles coming up on your right behind you from 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards away, and it's displayed on the center monitor of your car display, right on your dashboard. So with Hondas, you can push the button on the end of the stalk of your blinker, turn on that camera, and leave it on all the time. So I can always see 200 yards down the right side of my car in a rearward direction. So anybody coming up and on me, I'll see them from a long way off. Where the mirror, I can't really see near as much, and I can only glance at it. And then if I turn my head all the way around, of course, I'm not looking at the road anymore, so that's no good. But that's another one I like. Heated or cooled seats, that's the craze. Heated seats have been around a long time. Most of the time it's with leather seats, although Honda started to use them in cloth now. They're absolutely wonderful, heated seats. I mean, they're not something you can't live without, let's be honest. But if you're up here, and you were up here last winter, you'll know what I'm talking about. Push button start. That's one that's pretty cool. It eliminates a key. I'm going to reach in my pocket quick if I can, but it allows you to just carry one of these guys here. And what it does is, as long as this is on your person, you can push a button on the car and it will unlock the car or lock the car. And then once you get in, you put your foot on the brake, push the start button, and it starts the car, provided you've got one of these in your pocket, in your purse, on your person, in any way, shape, or form. So that's push button start. Do we have to have that? No, of course not. Is it a safety item? Maybe in some ways. I mean, I like the fact that when, let's say somebody's walking to their car at the mall, okay, that's never that's a security type of situation. Well, I like the fact that no one's digging through their pockets or their purse trying to find a key when they're going to get in their car when they're at the mall. That's when you're distracted. That's when bad things can happen. So, you know, that could be potentially a safety feature, push button start. You know, we're reaching a little bit, but that's kind of a nice feature. Keyless entry is another one. Works kind of the same way, but push button start and keyless usually kind of go hand in hand. But those are some of the major ones, Gerald, that you got to ask yourself, hey, do I really need this? Is push button start really a big thing for me? Is that really going to play a role in my everyday life? And if that answer is yes, get it, because I have it and I love it. If the answer is no, heck, I don't do that much driving, I don't need it, I don't want it, whatever the case, make that decision, because that can affect which car you want to buy and, of course, how much you're going to have to pay for it. But awesome question, Gerald. That is an absolutely great one. That's going in the drawing for the $100 gas card. Here's another great one from Elizabeth in Port Clinton. Gene, we're leaving for a road trip to the Smoky Mountains, Tennessee in a week. What do I absolutely need to have done to my Odyssey before I hit the road? Elizabeth from Port Clinton. Well, there's a laundry list of stuff you might want to do, Kathy. And I'll tell you, the Smoky Mountains are wonderful. Been there many times. Gatlinburg's one of my favorite spots on the whole planet. It's absolutely wonderful. But if you're going there and you're like me, you stay in one of those cabins in the mountains, you're probably going to want to get, number one, your tires checked, because you're taking a long trip. So make sure that there's no nails in them, they're up to snuff, the tread is good, because you don't want to have a flat tire when you're way out of town, or any other time for that matter. So get those checked, get the tire pressure checked, get your oil changed if it's due, or it's going to be due before you get back. That way you got new oil and oil filter for your trip. Get all your fluids changed or inspected, make sure they're topped off, especially that windshield washer fluid, because you don't want to get in the middle of this, that, or the other thing and decide, oh gosh, I need to rinse my windshield and I'm out of fluid and I didn't know it. So you want to get that one checked. I would get my brakes and transmission fluid checked. Both of those are going to be under stress if you stay in a cabin in the mountains, because you're going up the mountain, which stresses out your transmission, or down the mountain where you're riding those brakes, and you want to take a look at those and make sure they're up to snuff, because I can tell you this, going up and down those mountains, you are going to need both, your transmission and your brakes. So I would check both of those before I go. Aside from that, make sure you take a lot of smiles, because it's a lot of fun. There's a whole bunch of great things to do down in the Smokies, but I think if you do those things, Elizabeth, your Odyssey is going to be ready for a great road trip, and you're going to have an absolute blast. So those were the things I would do. I would make sure that my tires are okay, tire pressure, brakes, transmission fluid. If you haven't changed it, go ahead and change it. If it's time for an oil change, or better yet, it's going to be before you get back, go ahead and get that done in advance, and away you go. And I'll tell you what, Elizabeth, if you want to bring it up to the dealership or just give me a call at the office, 419-626-1061. I'll be happy to get you a discount on all those services since you mentioned it on the show. That's an absolutely awesome question. 419-975-9205 with your questions, you guys. Call in if you can, because if you do, of course, you're going in the drawing for the $100 gas card. We got to go to commercial, but when we come back, tons of great stuff, tons of great questions. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
SanduskyCredit.com.
Bad credit shouldn't stop you from getting a new car. Visit SanduskyCredit.com, and a 450 credit score plus $450 a week in income equals a brand new car with interest rates as low as 8.99%. Stop the buy here, pay here cycle. Let us help you build your credit. The pros at SanduskyCredit.com are credit experts. So fill out a credit app today at
SanduskyCredit.com.
Hi, folks. Gene Capo here, BehindTheWheelRadio.com. We're back from commercial, living large and loving life here at Channel 20 Buckeye Cable, the guide channel, 7 days a week, 8 o'clock p.m. We're rocking it out, you guys. I'm Gene Capo. I own and operate Victory Honda of Sandusky, Ohio, right at the corner of Hayes and Perkins Avenue, 2301 Hayes Ave to be exact. Also, Victory Pre-Owned Cars right at the mall, you guys, between Pizza Hut and Red Lobster, 4104 Milan Road. Stop by there. They're rocking out the deals there, too. Or go to our website to start, victorysandusky.com. If you go there, all of our cars are there, top to bottom, 31 great pictures of each car, new car or used car. You can see what the colors actually look like. Look at the vehicle history reports. There's always great pricing on every single car online, and a black book icon if you need to value your trade-in, and 15 very knowledgeable, very nice salespeople waiting for you to give them a call if you have any questions, if you need a vehicle demonstration, if you'd like to take a test drive, if you want to take one for a couple hours or overnight, just contact us. We'll work with you. We have one of the best, most knowledgeable sales staffs in the industry. They've worked hard to gain knowledge of all the vehicles, and they can quickly share it with you. 419-975-9205 with your questions, you guys. Call them in, because if you do, of course, you're going in the drawing for the $100 gas card. And we have had some great questions this week. Ron from Marblehead bought a car, had it 3 days. Ron hustled back to the dealership, see if they'll take it back. He doesn't like it. It's too small. He can't fit his clubs in the back. Ron, a lot of dealerships have a return policy. I hope that the one that you have does, or that maybe you can exchange it for something else. But if you need my help, Ron, give me a call at the office, 419-626-1061. Elizabeth from Port Clinton, get the tires checked, transmission checked, get all the fluids checked and brakes and so forth before you go to Tennessee. Get all your service caught up, and anything, again, is going to be due before you get back. Go ahead and get that done, too. That way you got peace of mind for your trip, and you're always prepared. The Smoky Mountains are awesome, but it's stress on your vehicle going up and down those mountains sometimes, so be prepared. Bert from Castalia, how many miles do I have to drive to make a hybrid payoff? Well, I'll tell you this. It's not almost how many miles you got to drive, but how you're driving them. So, again, Bert, ask yourself that question. Am I mostly city? Am I mostly highway? And how many miles a year am I doing? How much over the regular car is the hybrid car going to improve my fuel economy under the type of conditions that I'm driving them? If you need help figuring it out, Bert, give me a call at the office, 419-626-1061. I would be more than happy to go over it with you. Jenny from Sandusky, first-time buyer tips. Again, realistic budget, figure out what payment you need, figure out what car you want and what it's got to have, and figure out of your top stuff, what's expendable. What can I eliminate first? And, of course, Gerald from Sandusky, tons of technology out there, Gerald. Decide what's for you. Is it the blind spot monitors, heated or cooled seats, backup cameras? There's all sorts of technology out there, but really find out what it does and see what it plays a role in your everyday life. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, you don't want to pay for it. You don't want to have it. Great stuff, though, Gerald. Thanks so much for the questions, you guys. 419-975-9205 with your questions. Call them in, because, again, if you do, we love them. We'll answer them, and we'll throw you in the drawing for the $100 gas card. Great show, you guys. We love you. Happy motoring, and we'll see you next week.
SanduskyCredit.com.
Bad credit shouldn't stop you from getting a new car. Visit SanduskyCredit.com. And a 450 credit score plus $450 a week in income equals a brand new car with interest rates as low as 8.99%. Stop the buy here, pay here cycle. Let us help you build your credit. The pros at SanduskyCredit.com are credit experts. So fill out a credit app today at
SanduskyCredit.com.